Here's Brad at Blue Nile Farm. If you're new to baling hay, whether you're using a square baler or a round baler, and you would like to do some of your own maintenance on your baler, there's something that you can do all the time that's really very simple, and I'm going to take you through the process. And what that is how to replace your pickup teeth on your square baler or round baler. They're basically the same. Today we're going to use a John Deere, but a lot of this is the same for most balers on the market. So stay tuned, and I'll take you through the process of what I do to replace pickup teeth and the reason why we do so. So with a baler, whether it's a square baler or a round baler, there's things called tines. And these tines are used to actually go and make a circle. There'll be a bunch of them, and it actually feeds the hay off the ground into the baler. And that's normally the hay that we get from raked rows. If you're missing teeth, you're going to be missing hay. If you're not picking up hay adequately and you're running into hay, it may also force a plug up to the baler. And that may be the situation I'm in right now, is because I was starting to plug up for some reason, picking up hay off the field. And I was thinking maybe it's because I'm missing some tines. So I decided I'm going to come in and I'll replace any missing tines on this baler. And that's why we're making this video. So we're going to show you the process of replacement of tines. These are the tines, and every baler has them, whether it's a square baler or a round baler. They may just look a little different, and they may become apart a little different, but for the most part, every baler that I know of has some form of tine. So we're going to go through the process here, and let's get started. So here's an example of the tines. This is on a round baler with the back door open, just so you guys can see. And here you can see I'm missing tines here, missing the tines here. And as we spin this around, we're going to find out if we're missing more tines, which I know I am. So we're going to get this cleaned out, replace the tines. That's really our objective, what we have to do. Now to do this properly, make sure when you do lift that you engage the safety bar that's here. And basically it's a bar that lays on the cylinder, and it keeps it from falling if this lets go. So that keeps you from getting crushed when you're working underneath. And another thing is I jack this up, and what you can see as we walk around here is they got a couple 6x6 blocks lifting underneath the wheels, and I keep them there so that I can crawl underneath and have better access to taking some of these parts off to get to the tines. And the tractor is locked in park, and it's hitched to the tractor, so this thing really isn't going to go anywhere. So safety first, make sure you don't get hurt, and then we take it from here. But you definitely need the back door open on a round baler. Now if you have a square baler, you really don't have to worry about that. You can work on it right in front of you, but you might want to jack it up also, because you have to get underneath and take off these parts that I'm going to show you here in a minute. There's one thing I want to point out that I find pretty important, is that, whether it's my hay rakes, my tedders, or even my balers, they all have some kind of tine, and I do not go out to the store and buy one or two. So I always like to have replacement tines. I think that if you're, farming any fields, whether you're using your rake, your tedders, or your balers, make sure you get enough tines that you can change out all the time. So I always buy boxes of 20, try to get groups, 20, 30 different tines at one time. And I know it's kind of pricey somewhat for people, but the bottom line is when you break down, it's just nicer to run in the barn and replace them right away and to get it over with than to sit there and order them and try to, get your stuff back in gear. I was down to 2 tines. I ordered a box of 20, and I'm going to repair this. I'll have extra tines for next year. If I break a couple tines, I can quickly replace them, and that's pretty much how it works. I have hay rakes that every year I replace a couple times a year, a bunch of tines. And the other thing too is, and I say a lot of this because I deal with grass hay, I cut 4 inches, and that's what I leave in the field every time I cut for grass hay. So I'm not going to damage my tines as much because I don't really run them into the ground, but I do break tines because my ground somewhat is rough, or I hit holes and they do break. So no matter what you do, you are going to replace these, but it's better to have too many of these and put them on when you're necessary than to try to order them, because it's a big pain, and when you need them, you want them now. So that's my suggestion before we get started, is have an adequate supply at all times for your rakes, your tedders, and your balers, and you'll be good to go. So this is a round baler with the door open, but if you go in here and you can look, these are all the tines. And you can see where I'm missing a couple in this area, and then I'm going to have to keep rotating and find out more, but I was plugging a lot right up in here, and I'm guessing maybe it's because of these tines. And this baler is pretty sensitive as far as pickup goes. So this is what we're going to be replacing right here. And first thing you need to do on any baler is, especially if it's a round baler, is you want to get this lifted. And all these balers have a safety latch. And that's what this latch is right here. And it goes around and the bar actually lays down on the hitch. So you want to make sure that's in place. Probably one of the most important things, because if this door falls on you, you're kind of stuck. So you don't want to have that, all right? So that's the first thing, is you want that safety bar in. So the first thing we need to do is remove the tines. Now on each tine, we have two pickup teeth, or two teeth. And a lot of times one will be broke or both will be broke. So to resolve this, we have to take off the band. Now whether you start at the left or the right, it really doesn't make a difference. But every other band is where it sits in the middle of a tine. So the number 1, number 3, number 5, number 7, number 9, those are the ones that, everything that's odd is always going to be where the band is. And that's where the tine is. And those are the ones you need to take off. And you need to take off 2 bolts at the top and bolts at the bottom of each band and remove that band. That allows you to have access to the bar where they are bolts, these tines are bolted on. So that's the first thing you need to do, is remove the bands. So this is the first band that we removed. And if you look at it, you can see it's cut out here in notch where you have access. So I just loosened, these are at the bottom. This is how it's sitting in on the baler. This is at the bottom. I just loosened them off. And then I took the 2 bolts off the top and I removed them. And so I was able to pull this easy off. So when I want to put it on, I just have to slide in, catch the 2 bottom bolts, and then I'll put the 2 bolts in on top, and then I'll just snug it up as I need it. That's the easiest way for me to tell you to extract this in and out. So this is step 1, and we're going to continue removing all these as necessary so we can get access to fix it. So this is where we removed the first tine, and you can see the bolt right here, and that's where the tine's supposed to be set. And that one is actually missing 2 tines, so we're going to replace that. But that's our goal, is to go through, find these empty bolts, whether they're broken completely or they're just partially broken, we're going to get them all replaced. And that's our goal. All right, so when you're putting your tines in, make sure that your nut is in between the middle. Make sure your tines are in the right position like the other ones are, because if you have it inverted, they won't line up properly. And all you have to do is put the nut on the bottom, try to get it started. So once it's started, then you kind of can work on screwing this down tight. Half the battle is just getting the stuff on. Once you get a rhythm, it's going to be really easy. And I'm trying to get a rhythm here. And it's really hard to get to everything because everything's kind of buried. All right, that started. So like I say, just get your wrench on there. And sometimes, like this brand anyway, I think it's better to feed it where your best opening is. And once it's lined up, get it nice and tight. And then this one is going to be on. And so then we can kind of move on. So what you're going to do basically is go through the entire machine, and you're going to be replacing tines just like that. So we have this other one here we're going to replace as well. And then what we're going to do is we're going to spin this and change that one also. So this other one right here, we want to take it apart. Fuck, I keep losing it, motherfucking. So we took the bolt out of the last one, and again, we're doing the same thing. We're going to make sure that we're lined up and everything is set right. We got the bolt in our tine. stick it through the hole, try to start the nut. And again, once that's started, we're going to bolt this thing down. And it's kind of awkward too because you kind of work in between everything here. So once it's lined up again, and this isn't a really hard process, but what it is a real pain because you've got all this stuff in your way. And sometimes you're working in kind of a tight quarter. And you're going to have to find out too, what angle do you want to be at when you're working on this stuff, because you got to also set your wrenches through where you can get to it. And that's why I like it through the front, because there's a bar that runs across. It's like a 90-degree angle, and that's what's screwing these springs into. So you want to basically get enough room where you can slide your wrench in and grab that bottom nut, at least in this case with the John Deere. But we actually have this full row completed. So I'm going to show you how you can turn this tine where you don't have to use the PTO. So if you open up the door on, I guess you want to say the driver's side door, the left door where the chains are on your baler, you'll find this piece, which is actually a hex head. And this hex head, if you turn it, will actually turn the tines. So all you'll have to do is turn this versus having it hooked up to PTO, and you can line yourself up. And it'll make your life a little bit easier using that. Now the John Deere baler, if you have a square baler, all you have to do is push the wheel around and it'll move the plunger, and you're able to move your tines that way. But this is basically how you do it on a round baler. All right, so we're down to the final wire. So all we need to do is put these guards back in, slide them in, bolt them in from the bottom, bolt them in from the top. Our tine's already in, and we're finished. And that's how you replace the tines on a baler. Real quick and easy. Like I said, once you get going, you're going to get the rhythm, but this is the best thing you can do is keep up on these tines. All right, so once you have the guards all back on, everything's on, and you can see all the tines are in place. So that finishes this job, and it really didn't take that long, but it is a little tedious, especially when you're getting started. Hey guys, thanks for watching a video about changing the tines on a baler, whether it's a square or a round baler, and give you an idea of what you need to do as far as removing the guard and replacing the tines. Hopefully it helps somebody out, especially if you're new at this. And the best thing I can tell you is try to stay up on this. You don't want to lose too many tines because it's not going to help you eating the hay and in your baling process. And it'll make a big difference a lot of times if you just replace those tines. So with that said, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys soon.